Alright, Lord of Change enjoyers, welcome on in. This is Spruce and Studs, and just like what I did with the Blood Angels Horus Heresy line, I also want to do the same thing for the Thousand Sons Horus Heresy line, which is basically give you a too long didn't read kind of video and condense all of the releases into one video where I give you a synopsis as well as a tier list as to which action figure is going to be worth your money as well as your time to look into. So without further ado, let's get into this tier review. Okay, we start off with the simplest action figure of the Thousand Sons Horus Heresy line with the introduction of the Khenetai Occult Cabal. One of the biggest and most unique trait to this whole entire lineup is this glossy speckled candy apple red armor. Some of you think that this is a weakness, but I think that this is the entire line's biggest strength because no other Space Marine faction has this type of armor. However, I'll have to say that the overall design of this action figure is rather weak because, well, there's not much design that goes into it, and this leg right here is a perfect representation of what I'm trying to say. Sure, you have these bumps that are ribbed for my or even your pleasure on the pauldrons, as well as the left leg. That's pretty much it. Aside from that, you just have this very simple winged scarab in the middle, and a frag and crack grenade, as well as an empty holster for decoration. Weirdly enough, the most spicy part of this action figure is this backpack, which has different textures as well as contrasting colors in the form of gold against the red of the armor. Weapons-wise, you have these two Akia Force weapons, while they flow with this action figure a little bit lackluster. Interestingly enough, the bolt pistol with the usage of white gold and gunmetal is the standout weapon. Due to these deficiencies, I will have to rate this figure as C tier. So we have the Sekhmet Terminator Cabal. I really enjoy the headdresses of these delicious Terminators. While they have these same white and gold stripe patterns, each and every single one of them boasts a difference on the top of their scorpion claws, or whatever you want to call this area. I'm a big fan of the stark contrast of the color differentiation in the form of this glossy red armor to the gold outlining right here on the pauldrons, as well as the white on the pauldrons themselves. The leather fringe on the armor further adds a level of spice to this figure. However, in terms of overall design, I would have to say the look is rather plain. You have this gigantic gold winged scarab on the breastplate of every single one of these action figures, plus this leather tabard here. Interestingly enough, I would have to say that the back of the leg is more interesting than the front. The uniqueness of the power plant further adds a type of differentiation too. Weapons wise, there's a decent amount of distribution with these storm bolters, this chain fist right here, force weapons, lightning claws, and power fists. The only weapons that are not represented are the thunder hammers, and that is it. In terms of movement, these action figures are free flowing and do not have any issues or massive blockages that would hinder putting the action in front of action figures. I believe that these Terminators should be on the B tier, but I think they're kind of a weak B tier. Next, we have this Legion Praetor in Cataphracti armor. This action figure obviously shares a lot in common with the Terminator Cabal due to this action figure being in Cataphracti armor, but because they also use the same design pattern as well. So to differentiate this action figure from the rest of the Terminator Cabal, the headdress right here, instead of white and gold bands, rock black and gold bands. These subtle variations really make this figure stand out from their regular counterparts, but compared to the normal counterparts, this Praetor has an added level of spice and tastiness. Focusing on the armor, the pauldrons have a more bespoke as well as unique design. You can see the gratuitous usage of green robes back here, which is a nice contrast to the red and gold on the armor. The weapons loadout is fairly decent and conforms to the whole flow of the Legion with the inclusion of this archaic looking Stormbolter, and then a massive Akia Force staff. But most impressive enough, movement wise, despite the very large robes, JoyToy did a fantastic job of designing this action figure so that there is no restriction of movement at all. I will have to say, this action figure deserves of being on a solid A tier. For those of you who watched my top figures of 2024, you will be completely spoiled by the rating that I'm going to give this action figure. This bad boy has many things going for it that made him one of my favorite action figures for 2024. First, we'll start off with this armor. Everywhere you look and turn, this action figure is loaded with one-of-a-kind decorations to make him stand apart from his plebeian counterparts. For starters, the detailed white scarab in the middle is very prominent on the chest plate. The pauldrons are more bespoke with unique designs. Even the knee pads have super decorative elements to them with the Legion 15 chapter symbol as well as this weeping closed eye. The two skulls that flank the scarab further accent the nobleness of this figure too. Interestingly enough, as I said in the review video, the biggest highlight of this action figure is something that you will never see, which is this regal cloak that is on the back of this action figure. The rich blue gives off this feeling of nobility, and the highlights really bring out the luster of this figure. I love the added feature that makes this action figure a librarian, which is this huge Tower of Orthanc type staff, as well as these scrolls that are attached to this figure. The only issue is that this guy does have some massive restriction of movement for the arms, just because these hooks restrict the movement, but that doesn't throw off my overall feeling of this action figure, which I believe belongs on the S tier. Now, this part of the video may be invalid because I do not actually possess any of the action figures that I'm mentioning on this review, which is the Thousand Sons Tactical Squad. I absolutely understand that as a tactical squad, these are supposed to be the grunt units for a Horus Heresy army, so they're not going to be massively decorated like their more distinguished counterparts. Looking at the armor as a whole, they give off a kind of Occult Cabal kind of feel. The armor is utilitarian, where function is more important than form, and it shows. However, there is some added spice with the one with the Legion Vexilla, as well as the Sergeant, but those are more elevated units. I will have to say, weapons-wise, there is a good distribution in the form of power swords, power fists, chain swords, bolt pistols, but this will not ultimately save these offerings from the fate of being on the C tier. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Alright, Thousand Sons Horus Heresy fans, hopefully this video directed you to definitively figure out which action figures you want to buy versus the ones that you are going to pass on. And if you saw one or even more action figures that you wanted to buy based off of this tiered review, click in the link in the description below, or you will be brought to David Toys. As I have said before, these guys are a solid online web dealer, and for us US residents, we get free shipping that is not subject to those tariffs. And before you hit that pay button, do not forget to enter the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And so once again, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this tiered review video. Again, I hope you found this helpful. Please let me know in the comment section below if you want me to do more of these condensed tiered review videos for other factions, especially Warhammer 40k. I will be totally willing to do it for your benefit. So I thank you, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.